Hi, thanks for tuning in to Politically Homeless. About 270, 75, so about 700 750, somewhere around there, subscribers needed before I'll be able to live stream off of my cell phone again, which is important to me because there are going to be times where I want to go out on the ground in San Francisco and the Bay Area, which is a hotbed of far left political activity, and commentate and report, and I won't be able to do that live until I get to 8,000 subscribers. So if you can subscribe to my channel, I really appreciate it. If you're already a subscriber, thank you. I'm on to the episode. I came across an article by CNN, which was surprising because CNN usually stays away from ever blaming Obama, as we saw for the length of his presidency. Basically, that was his de facto news outlet, spewing the Obama doctrine. So CNN has always spewed the Obama doctrine, and with the Mueller report coming out on Thursday, in case you were living under a rock, the Mueller report was finally released on Thursday. And of course, CNN, MSNBC, and other prominent news sources have a lot of egg in their face because for 2 years they've been pumping the conspiracy theory that absolutely, definitely, without any doubt, Trump colluded with Russia to win the election in 2016, and that Mueller and his report would prove that. Well, the report came out, and it's 400 or 500 pages, a lot to read, but the most important part to take away from it, the one paragraph to take away from the Mueller report, if you don't read it at all, or if you read the whole thing and you want to break it down into one focus part, is the investigation did not establish that members of the Trump campaign conspired or coordinated with the Russian government in the election interference activities. That is very important. That means no collusion, no criminal activity. You're not going to impeach Trump. And things are looking now, because of, he's had some really strong wins lately. And with this, I do believe he is primed to take the 2020 election, possibly in a landslide. We will see. That's going to get into some topics, some other videos, but let's stay hyper-focused on what goes on here. CNN usually doesn't have a conservative viewpoint, but every once in a while they will have conservative voices write opinion pieces, and that is what this is. This is by Scott Jennings. So right off the bat, it's titled, "Mueller's Report Looks Bad for Obama." And editor's note, Scott Jennings is a CNN contributor, and he is a former special assistant to President George W. Bush and former campaign advisor, Senator Mitch McConnell. So you can tell right there he's going to be a more conservative, right-leaning viewpoint and voice. He is partner at Run Switch Public Radio Relations in Louisville, Kentucky. Follow him on Twitter at Scott Jennings. Okay, blah, blah, blah. And the opinions expressed in this commentary are his own. So what I found surprising about this is that if you haven't noticed, Fox News has been kicking the ass butt out of the other news outlets, ratings-wise, and new viewership. So the last few weeks, if you've noticed, Fox is having a more moderate, trying to be more moderate in their daily news take, right? So tons of viewers have fled CNN and MSNBC. CNN's freaking out, right? But they're not going to admit it. They pushed this fake narrative of the collusion the last 2 years. Rachel Maddow and, Brian Stelter, they look terrible, okay? So, but they can't just come out and say, oh, we were wrong, right? So they have to deflect, and they have to look for other people. what does the left do? A lot of times they eat their own, okay? So, of course, this very smart conservative news guy who points out correctly that maybe the blame is to be had on the Obama administration for not doing their job during the 2016 election when they had the opportunity to go after Russia with some strength and make a statement, and they didn't. And what this article gets into is that Obama really was hoping that Russia would be in the Iran deal, nuclear deal, and he felt if he went after Russia hard about the election interference, that would push away Putin from being in the Iran nuclear deal, and he kind of had all his cards in on that. So they gave them sanctions, but they're more symbolic sanctions that wouldn't really damage. They were symbolic in nature. They didn't have any teeth. They didn't do much. So basically a slap on the wrist to Russia, and they basically got to do what they did in our election. Now, let's get into this article because it's not a long one. I just want to read it real quick and then add some more of my commentary. But I do find that very interesting that Fox, with their newfound success, is having a more moderate people on to try to, I think, include their new viewership and have a more moderate take to appeal to more people. And CNN, which has been way too far left, right? They're going to have on conservative voices to try to bring back people that have left them. It's funny. It's funny. All these sides, they do this weird flip-flop to try to make themselves look nonpartisan and unbiased. But, don't be fooled. But also, listen and read everything. Just know, I guess, where the bias and where the opinion is coming from. So this is a conservative minded opinion, but this is on CNN. So Mueller report looks bad for Obama. The partisan warfare over Mueller report will rage, but one thing cannot be denied. Former President Barack Obama looks just plain bad. On his watch, the Russians meddled in our democracy while his administration did nothing about it. Strong words. The Mueller report flatly states that Russia began interfering in America's democracy in 2014. Over the next couple of years, the effort blossomed into a robust attempt to interfere in our 2016 presidential election. The Obama administration knew this was going on and yet did nothing. In 2016, Obama's national security advisor, Susan Rice, told her staff to, quote, stand down and, quote, knock it off, as they drew up plans to strike back against the Russians. According to an account from Michael Iskoff and David Korn in their book, quote, Russian Roulette, the inside story of Putin's war on America and the election of Donald Trump. Why did Obama go soft on Russia? My opinion is that it was because he was singularly focused on the nuclear deal with Iran, as I alluded. Obama wanted Putin in the deal, and to stand up to him on election interference would have, in Obama's estimation, upset that negotiation. This turned out to be a disastrous policy decision. Obama's supporters claim he did stand up to Russia by deploying sanctions after the election to punish them for their actions, but Obama, according to Washington Post, quote, approved a modest package with economic sanctions so narrowly targeted that even those who helped design them described their impact as largely symbolic, end quote. In other words, a toothless response to a serious incursion. But don't just take my word for it. That Obama failed. Congressman Adam Schiff. Oh, Schiff for brains. Love that guy. Sarcasm. Who disgraced himself in this process, yes he did, by claiming collusion when Mueller found that none exist. Once said that, quote, the Obama administration should have done a lot more, end quote. The Washington Post reported that a senior Obama administration official said they, quote, sort of choked in failing to stop the Russian's government brazen activities. And Obama's ambassador to Russia, Michael McFaul, said the punishment did not fit the crime, end quote. About the weak sanctions rolled out after the 2016 election. A legitimate question Republicans are asking is whether the potential, quote, collusion narrative was intended to cover up the Obama administration's failures. 2 years have been spent fomenting the idea that Russia only interfered because it had a willing, colluding partner, Trump. Now that Mueller has popped that balloon, yes he has, we must ask why this collusion narrative was invented in the first place. Yes, we do. Given Obama's record on Russia, one operating theory is that his people needed a smoke screen to obscure just how wrong they were. They blamed Trump. They've even blamed Mitch McConnell in some twisted attempt to deflect blame from one to deflect blame to another branch of government. Joe Biden once claimed McConnell refused to sign a letter condemning the Russians during the 2016 election, but McConnell's office counters at the White House asked him to sign a letter urging state electors to accept federal help in securing local elections. And he did. You can read it here, and they do have a link. I guess if I had to stop Russia from marching into Crimea, making a mess in Syria, and hacking our democracy, I'd be looking to blame someone else too. Ooh, that's harsh. But the Mueller report makes it clear that the Russian interference failure was Obama's alone. He was the commander-in-chief when all of this happened. In 2010, he and Eric Holder, his attorney general, declined to prosecute Julian Assange, who then went on to help Russia hack the Democratic National Committee's emails in 2016. He arguably chose to prioritize his relationship with Putin vis-a-vis Iran over pushing back against Russian election interference that had been going on for at least 2 years. If you consider Russian election interference a crisis for our democracy, then you cannot read the Mueller report, adding it to the available public evidence, and conclude anything other than Barack Obama spectacularly failed America. Subsequent investigations of this matter should explore how and why Obama's White House failed and whether they invented the collusion narrative to cover up those failures. Very interesting. What do you think? If you watch this video, you heard me read this article, you hadn't read it yourself, but you are aware of the Mueller report and what's been going on, and the fact that Trump has been pretty much exonerated. What do you think? Should the blame be, should we look at Obama for some of the blame? Did he get lazy and sloppy and at the end of his presidency and really failed to act when he should have? Was he hyper-focused on the Iran nuclear deal? And why were the sanctions and punitive things that he did do to Russia, why were they so weak? Makes you wonder. I personally have my own theories. This does have some merit, I think. Absolutely. Things were really weird 2015, 16. Really, really weird. I remember, it wasn't that long ago. And yeah, it's interesting. So, my takeaway from the Mueller report, I focus on that most important paragraph, that they did not find any criminal interference from the Trump campaign. So really, it does look terrible for CNN, MSNBC, and it also, I do find it interesting how all of a sudden now you are going to see some, more right-leaning conservative, probably conservative viewpoints coming from sources that you wouldn't expect, because they got to reel it in somehow. They have to change the narrative somehow. And fascinating stuff. So please, if you have any thoughts or comments on the Mueller report, Obama, Trump, and what's going on in the country right now, enjoy the discussion. Thank you once again for watching Politically Homeless, and I will try to do another video again soon. Thanks.